It's a golden October afternoon in Seoul. At the prestigious National University Library, between marble corridors and Gothic windows filtering autumn light, a woman moves with almost ritualistic precision. Min Ji-woon organizes rare manuscripts, her small, delicate fingers tracing ancient spines with reverence. The pearl gray blazer subtly embraces her delicate shoulders, while the black pencil skirt traces the subtle curve of her hips. Her silky black hair is pulled back in an impeccable low bun, revealing the elegant line of her alabaster neck. Behind gold-rimmed glasses, her almond-shaped eyes show absolute concentration. Naturally rosy lips, never painted, contract slightly as she examines a particularly old volume. Ji-won is the type of woman who hides fire beneath an ice-like appearance. There's something contained within her, like embers covered in ashes, waiting for the right wind to ignite. Destiny intervenes when forbidden tales of the Joseon dynasty slips from her hands, as if it had a life of its own. As she bends gracefully, the movement makes the fabric embrace her thighs almost sensually. Between the yellowed pages, something impossible. A modern card on cream paper with golden characters. Shadow Bookstore, Hyundai. She examines the card, running her thumb over the luxurious texture. A masculine and intoxicating aroma emanates from the paper. Sandalwood with bergamot. Her eyes narrow. A spark of dangerous curiosity ignites for the first time in years. How did it get there? And why does her heart race just from holding this piece of paper? Sunset paints Seoul in pink and orange when Ji-woon makes a decision that goes against everything she represents. She traded the formal blazer for a cream wool coat that embraces her feminine silhouette. For the first time in months, she let her hair down, letting it fall in soft waves that frame her face like black silk. The contrast with her porcelain skin is mesmerizing. Hyundai pulses with young, rebellious energy. Neon lights reflect on wet asphalt, music echoes from bars, couples kissed without shame on street corners. Ji-woon feels like an intruder in this world of liberation, but there's something awakening in her, and excitement she hadn't felt in years. Each step of her low heel on the asphalt takes her further from who she always was. The Shadow Bookstore hides in a discreet alley, away from the colorful chaos. The minimalist facade in frosted glass and dark wood exudes discreet sophistication. Through the glass, Ji-woon sees amber lights dancing like flames, tall shadows moving between shelves that seem to touch the ceiling. Her pulse quickens. Why? She hesitates at the threshold, her small hand on the cold door handle. Something whispers that crossing this door will change everything. But curiosity, this new and dangerous curiosity, overcomes any hesitation. The door opens with a musical sigh. The interior is a world apart. Not just a bookstore, but a sanctuary of the senses. The smell of old paper mixed with sandalwood and masculine leather, creating a perfume that immediately relaxes and awakens Ji-woon. Dark wood shelves create intimate corridors. Golden light dances, creating shadow games that make the environment pulse like something alive. Ji-woon walks slowly, her steps muffled by the Persian carpet. She runs her fingers along book spines, many in languages she doesn't recognize. There's something forbidden here, something that makes her skin tingle with anticipation. That's when he appears. Kang Do-hoon emerges from the shadows between the shelves as if he were part of the architecture itself. Tall, easily 6'1", broad shoulders that completely fill the black cotton shirt. The fabric embraces a clearly defined chest, arms that suggest contained strength. Slightly wavy black hair, disheveled as if he just got out of bed, frames a face that is pure, dangerous masculinity. But it's the eyes that capture her. dark as a moonless night, penetrating in a way that makes Ji-woon feel like he could read every secret thought she's ever had. The strong jaw is shadowed by 3 days of stubble that gives him the air of a wolf disguised as a civilized man. He moves toward her with feline grace, each step calculated like a predator who has identified his prey. Large hands, with long fingers marked by small, mysterious scars, move with elegance as he adjusts a book on the shelf without taking his eyes off her. Ji-woon should flee. Every self-preservation instinct screams for her to run. But her feet seem glued to the floor, hypnotized by the growing proximity of this man who exudes danger and promise in equal measure. When he stops just 1 meter away, close enough for her to feel the heat radiating from his body, Ji-woon realizes she's holding her breath. He smiles, a small, asymmetrical, devastating smile. "You came," he says, and his voice is exactly as she imagined it would be, deep, hoarse, each word loaded with intention. "I was waiting." Ji-woon tries to speak, but her voice comes out weaker than normal. How did you know I would come?" Dong-hoon takes another step closer. Now she can see intimate details, the texture of bronze skin, a small scar at the corner of his mouth, the discreet tattoo on his left wrist with ancient Chinese characters. She can smell his scent, natural musk mixed with something wild, primitive. "My books," he says, extending one of his large hands toward her face, stopping centimeters from her skin without touching it. The heat of his hand so close makes Ji-woon's skin tingle. She should back away, but something keeps her motionless, like a bird hypnotized by a snake. "You have interesting hands," he continues, finally touching. He delicately takes one of her small hands, turning it to examine the palm. The touch burns in a way she's never experienced. "What kind of secrets can a librarian have?" she manages to ask, surprised by her own boldness. His smile deepens, revealing white and perfect teeth. "Ah," he whispers, approaching until his lips are too close to her ear. "That's exactly the kind of dangerous question that interests me." Dong-hoon slowly releases her hand, fingers sliding across her skin with deliberate reluctance. "Come," he says, indicating with his head a direction into the depths of the bookstore. "I want to show you something that will interest a specialist in rare books." Ji-woon follows him, hypnotized by the way he moves, every muscle working in harmony, black pants embracing powerful thighs. They walk through more and more narrow, more intimate corridors until they reach a hidden section behind a burgundy velvet curtain. Here, the environment changes completely. The shelves are carved mahogany, books bound in genuine leather with titles engraved in gold. Manuscripts in glass cases, scrolls that seem centuries old. The air is denser, charged with history and secrets. "These," Do-hyun says, running his fingers along the ancient spines, "are knowledge that conventional libraries would consider inappropriate." Ji-woon approaches the shelves, fascinated. She removes her glasses to better examine a title. Without them, her almond-shaped eyes seem larger, more vulnerable. Do-hyun observes the movement, like a hunter steadying prey lowering its guard. "These are original manuscripts about..." She stops, blushing as she reads some titles. "About intimate relationships in ancient Korean culture?" "Among other things," he confirms, now positioned directly behind her, so close that she can feel the heat of his broad chest against her back. "The question is, are you prepared to know truths about yourself that might change who you think you are?" Ji-woon turns, and suddenly she's trapped between his body and the shelf. Do-hyun rests one hand on the wood beside her, creating an intimate cage. She can see every detail of the masculine face, the skin texture, thick eyelashes, the hypnotic intensity of dark eyes. "I've always been very cautious," she admits, her voice coming out hoarser than normal. "What if I told you," he whispers, bringing his face close until she feels warm breath against her lips, "that I can teach you to be dangerous?" The moment stretches, loaded with possibilities. Ji-woon can feel her heart beating so hard, she's sure he can hear it. His lips are millimeters from hers. She can taste him in the air. One of his large hands moves to touch her face, thumb tracing the jawline with the delicacy that contrasts with the wild intensity of his gaze. "First lesson?" he murmurs against her lips without kissing her. "Stop thinking. Feel." His hand descends down her neck, tracing the delicate line of her collarbone over the fabric. Ji-woon closes her eyes, lost in sensations she didn't know existed. Each touch is calculated, precisely positioned to awaken nerve endings that had been sleeping for years. But just when she completely surrenders to the moment, just when she's ready to cross the line she always avoided, Do-hyun stops. "Not today," he says, pulling back slightly but keeping his hand on her neck. The frustration Ji-woon feels is physical, almost painful. "How do you know what I'm ready for or not?" He smiles, that devastating and arrogant smile. "Because when you're really ready, you won't ask permission. You'll take what you want." Hit like if this story is making your heart race, because women who know how to recognize real chemistry deserve more content like this. Ji-woon leaves the bookstore in a state of sensory shock. Every nerve ending still vibrates where he touched. Her skin seems to burn beneath her clothes. She walks through Hongdae's streets without really seeing anything, lost in thoughts that frighten and excite her equally. In her minimalist apartment, all in neutral tones, like her carefully controlled personality, she tries to return to normal routine. She takes a long bath, trying to wash away the sensation of his hands on her skin, but it doesn't work. Every drop of water that runs down her neck reminds her of the touch of his fingers. Wearing only a cream silk nightgown, she sits on the bed with a book, trying to distract herself. But the words blur on the page. All she can see are his dark eyes, the way the masculine mouth curved when he smiled. Her cell phone vibrates on the nightstand. Message from unknown number. "Curiosity is the first step to freedom. You took that step today. KDH." Ji-woon's heart races. How did he get her number? But more disturbing than that is the wave of excitement that runs through her. She should be afraid, irritated by the privacy invasion. Instead, her fingers tremble with anticipation as she types the response. And what's the second step? The response comes immediately, as if he were waiting. Courage to cross the line you've always avoided, to discover who you really are when no one is watching. Ji-woon reads and rereads the message, each word making something twist in her lower belly. She types and deletes several responses until finally sending, "And if I don't like what I discover? Then you're not the woman I think you are, but I'm sure I'm right about you, Min Ji-woon." The fact that he knows her full name should alarm her. Instead, the intimate way he wrote it sends waves of heat spreading through her body. For the first time in her life, Ji-woon masturbates thinking of a specific man, imagining his large hands replacing hers, his hoarse voice whispering her name in the dark. The next night, Ji-woon dresses with deliberate care. Nothing of the conservative library look, She chooses a black knit dress that embraces every curve, subtle but present neckline, length that reveals more leg than she normally would show. She leaves her hair loose, applies a nude lipstick that enhances the natural shape of her lips. On her eyes, just a discreet eyeliner that intensifies her almond-shaped gaze. When she arrives at the bookstore, Do-hyun waits for her with 2 glasses of red wine. He's also changed. The black shirt now has the first 2 buttons open, revealing the beginning of his defined chest and a thin gold chain. Hair more disheveled, as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. "You came back," he says, extending a glass to her. "You knew I would come back," she responds, accepting the drink and keeping her gaze fixed on his eyes. The wine is full-bodied, with notes of cherry and spices that make her tongue tingle. Or maybe it's just his presence. Ji-woon drinks without looking away, a gesture of defiance that doesn't go unnoticed. "First lesson," he says, approaching until she feels the heat radiating from his masculine body. "Trust your instincts, not reason." "My instincts," she responds, surprising herself with her own boldness, "are telling me to flee or surrender completely." Do-hyun stops a few centimeters away, dark eyes searching her feminine face as if he could read every secret thought. "And what do you choose?" In response, Ji-woon places the wine glass on the nearby table and removes her glasses, placing them next to the drink. The gesture is symbolic. She's leaving behind the barrier she always maintained between herself and the world. "Teach me," she whispers. Do-hyun doesn't hesitate. In one fluid movement, he presses her against the shelf of ancient books, large hands resting on each side of her head. The masculine body presses against hers, and she can feel every muscle, every line of strength through the fabric. "Second lesson," he murmurs against her lips, still without kissing her. "The real danger isn't in what you don't know. It's in what you'll discover about yourself." One of his hands descends down her arm, fingers tracing fire on exposed skin. The other gets lost in silky hair, massaging her scalp in a way that makes Ji-woon moan softly. When he finally kisses her, it's not gentle or hesitant. It's possessive, dominant, his tongue claiming her mouth like conquered territory. Ji-woon responds with a hunger that surprises her, small hands clutching his shirt, pulling him closer. His hands explore with intimate knowledge of the female body, trace the curve of her waist, rise along her ribs until almost touching her breasts, make circles at the base of her neck that provoke shivers throughout her body. Each touch is precisely calculated to awaken, provoke, take to the limit without completely satisfying. Ji-woon hears herself making sounds she's never made before, low moans, labored breathing, his name being whispered like a prayer. For the first time in her life, she understands what it means to be touched by someone who knows exactly how to make a woman come undone. At the height of intensity, when Ji-woon is completely lost in the sensation of his hands and mouth on her skin, her eyes open and focus on something on the mahogany table nearby. An old black and white photograph. It's her, not a recent photo, a photo from college days, over 10 years ago. She's smiling, wearing a dress she hasn't worn in a decade. How is it possible? Do-hyun feels the moment she tenses, follows her gaze to the photograph. Instead of seeming embarrassed or trying to explain, he smiles, that dangerous smile she's beginning to know too well. "You knew me?" she whispers, pulling away slightly. "Before today, you knew me?" "I knew," he confirms without trying to deny it. "Just as I knew your grandmother, Min Hae-jin." The name of her grandmother who died 5 years ago makes Ji-woon freeze completely. How do you... My grandmother never mentioned. Your grandmother? Do-yeon says, taking an ornate, ancient key from a drawer. Frequented this bookstore for over 30 years. She left me something for you. The key is heavy, clearly ancient, with intricate designs engraved in the metal. Ji-woon takes it with trembling hands, feeling the cold weight against her palm. What kind of inheritance? Do-yeon approaches again, but now there is a different tenderness in his movements. A private collection, books that your grandmother collected her whole life, but never wanted you to find until you were ready. Ready for what? To discover that women like you too were born to break rules, not follow them. Subscribe for more stories that make you feel alive, powerful, and connected to your sensuality, because life is too short for romances without passion. Ji-woon holds the key, feeling she's holding much more than a piece of metal. She's holding a revelation about who she really is, about the legacy she carries in her blood. My grandmother had secrets, she murmurs, more to herself than to him. Your grandmother, Do-yeon confirms, was one of the most sensual and powerful women I ever knew. She knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. You inherited more from her than you imagine. The words resonate like truth in Ji-woon's body. For the first time, she understands why she always felt like she was playing a role, why the life of a modest librarian never seemed completely right. Do-yeon approaches once more, and this time she doesn't back away. And this key opens a cabinet at the back of the store. Inside there are diaries, photographs, books about the power of female sensuality in Korean culture through the centuries. Your grandmother wanted you to know you don't need to hide. Ji-woon closes her eyes, absorbing the revelation. When she opens them again, something fundamental has changed. The look is no longer that of the shy librarian who entered the store yesterday. There's a new confidence, an awareness of her own power that was dormant. And you, she asks, her voice firmer, what's your role in this story? Do-yeon smiles, and for the first time, it's a completely honest smile. I'm the guardian of her secrets. And now, he delicately kisses her forehead. I'm your guide to discovering who you really are. Ji-woon holds the mysterious key, feeling its cold weight against her palm. Something inside her has awakened, an awareness of power she never knew she possessed. Her inheritance is much more than books. It's a legacy of sensuality and feminine courage that ran in her veins without her knowing. Do-yeon observes her, satisfied to see the transformation happening before his eyes. He awakens something in her that can never go back to sleep. Ji-woon breathes deeply and for the first time in her life feels completely alive, completely herself. Grandmother's secrets await to be discovered, and this is just the first night of a journey that will change everything.